What if I told you that the reason your du'a feels unanswered isn't because Allah is ignoring you, but because you've been making du'a the wrong way this entire time? Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymin said that a du'a without a present heart is like a body without a soul. Meaning, you can raise your hands 1,000 times, but if your heart is absent, trembling, distracted, or insecure, then your du'a may rise, but it doesn't live. And maybe that's why you feel stuck. You're pouring your tears into the sky, but your heart is still somewhere else. Today, you're going to learn the real reason du'a gets rejected, and the simple shift that can flip your entire destiny. Because once you understand what Ibn al-Uthaymin taught, you will never ever make du'a the same way again. Before we go any deeper, I need you to pause whatever you're doing and think of that one du'a you've been making for months, maybe years. The one that keeps you awake at night, the one that hurts to say out loud, the one you whisper after every salah, hoping, just hoping, that this time Allah will answer. Hold that du'a in your heart, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through the exact teachings of Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymin, teachings that have changed thousands of lives, and show you why your du'a might have been silently blocked, not by Allah, but by the way you've been calling upon Him. Ibn al-Uthaymin said something many Muslims overlook. Du'a is not words. Du'a is a heart standing before Allah. Meaning, acceptance doesn't start with your tongue. It starts with the state of your soul. And sometimes the smallest shifts, a change in intention, a purification of income, a moment of real presence, can open doors you've been banging on for years. So in this video, you will discover the one mistake that silently destroys du'a, the secret Ibn al-Uthaymin taught about Allah's names and why most people never use them properly, the spiritual toxin that blocks your du'a instantly, even if you're crying while making it, and the hidden reason Allah delays some du'as not to punish you, but to elevate you. Stay with me, because once you understand these truths, your relationship with du'a will transform forever. Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymin said something that should shake every believer. The closest a servant is to Allah is when his heart is present, humble, and aware. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people make du'a with their tongue, not their heart. They raise their hands, whisper the words, maybe even shed a tear, but their mind is scattered, running after worries, fears, or worldly distractions. And Ibn al-Uthaymin warned, du'a does not accept a du'a from a heart that is distracted and unattentive. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you said, "Ya Allah, help me," while your heart was thinking about your bills, your phone, your deadline, or your pain?
You were speaking to the King of Kings, but your heart was still kneeling before your problems. Let me tell you something he emphasized again and again. Du'a is not a formula. It is a meeting where you stand before Allah as if you see Him, a meeting where your soul bows even before your body does, a meeting where you present your needs with humility, certainty, and full attention. And maybe, just maybe, this is why your du'a hasn't broken through yet. Not because Allah doesn't want to give you, but because you haven't truly shown up. Ibn al-Uthaymin said, "If you want your du'a answered, empty your heart for Allah." Meaning, shut the world out. Remove everything else from that moment. Speak to Him like you have nowhere else to go. because the one who turns to Allah with a divided heart receives a divided response, but the one who turns with full presence receives far more than he ever expected. Next, we go deeper into a silent barrier that blocks du'a instantly, even when the heart is present, and Ibn al-Uthaymin explained it with a frightening example. Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymin would often remind his students of a terrifying hadith, one that exposes a barrier that blocks du'a instantly, no matter how sincere your voice sounds. The Prophet ﷺ described a man who raises his hands to the sky and cries, "Ya Rab, Ya Rab." His voice trembles, his heart is desperate, his situation is broken. Everything looks perfect. But then the Prophet ﷺ said, "Yet his food is haram, his drink is haram, his clothing is haram. So how can his du'a be answered?" And Ibn al-Uthaymin explained, "Haram income and haram consumption destroy the roots of du'a. It is like planting a seed in poisoned soil. Nothing will grow. It doesn't matter how loudly you cry, how sincerely you raise your hands, how many times you repeat the same du'a. If what enters your body is unlawful, what you ask from Allah becomes veiled. This is the barrier no one sees. Not your family, not your friends, not even you sometimes. But Allah sees it. And He, out of His mercy, may delay your du'a, not because He rejects you, but because He loves you too much to answer while your foundation is weak. Ibn al-Uthaymin said, "Purify your earnings and you will see your du'a rise quickly." Sometimes, the biggest key to acceptance is not in repeating the du'a, but in purifying the life around it. Look at your day, your spending, your job, your transactions, your habits. Not to judge yourself, but to free your du'a. Because the moment the barrier is removed, your du'a shoots upward like an arrow. And now, you're ready for the next truth. Ibn al-Uthaymin reveals a secret most Muslims ignore, a secret that unlocks du'a instantly when you finally understand it, and once you hear it, your entire relationship with Allah's names will change forever. Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymin said something subtle, something so powerful, yet most believers overlook it. Du'a is not complete until you call upon Allah with the name that fits your need. Most people say, "Ya Allah, help me. Ya Allah, provide for me. Ya Allah, fix my life." But they never pause, never think, never connect their request to the name of the one who controls that matter. Ibn al-Uthaymin taught,
if you want forgiveness, call upon Him as al-Ghaffar. If you want mercy, call upon Him as ar-Rahman. If you want provision, call upon Him as ar-Razaq. If you want protection, call upon Him as al-Hafiz. Every name opens a specific door. Every name is a key to a different treasure. But most people try to open every door with one key. Let me show you how deep this goes. Think of someone who's drowning in debt, and they scream, "Ya Allah, help me." Yes, Allah hears every call. But Ibn al-Uthaymin said, when you call Him with the name tied to your need, your du'a becomes stronger, more complete, and closer to acceptance. Imagine instead saying, "Ya Razaq, the one who provides without limits. Remove this burden from me." Now your du'a isn't floating in the air, it's anchored, directed, precise. And here's the part most people never hear. Knowing Allah's names is not information, it is spiritual weaponry. The more names you know, the more ways you have to reach Him. the more ways you can cling to Him, the more ways your heart can melt before Him. And nothing pleases Allah more than a servant who knows Him and calls upon Him with certainty. So ask yourself, when was the last time you made du'a using a name of Allah that matched the exact wound in your heart? Because the moment you do, the entire atmosphere of your du'a changes. But now we go even deeper, because even if your heart is present, your income pure, and your words filled with Allah's names, there is still a mistake many people make that kills their du'a quietly. Ibn al-Uthaymin exposes this mistake, one so common, so subtle, yet so spiritually dangerous, that it can turn a beautiful du'a into an empty call. What's coming next will shake your understanding of sincerity to the core. Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymin warned about a mistake almost every Muslim makes, a mistake so small you don't even notice it. Yet it weakens du'a at its core. Asking Allah with hesitation, asking with uncertainty, asking with a heart that whispers, I hope so, maybe, if God wills, perhaps. He explained a hadith that almost no one reflects on anymore. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Let one of you ask Allah with certainty, and do not say, 'O Allah, forgive me if you will.'" Why? Because when you say "if you will" in du'a, you're not showing respect, you're showing doubt. Ibn al-Uthaymin said, this phrase suggests hesitation, and du'a is only answered when the heart is fully certain, not arrogant, not demanding, not entitled, but certain. Certain that Allah can, certain that Allah hears, certain that Allah knows the perfect time. Think about how many times you whispered a du'a like this. Ya Allah, please give me this, if you want, if it's possible, if things work out. You don't realize it, but your words are carrying insecurity, not faith. And Ibn al-Uthaymin said something even deeper. When the heart doubts Allah's power, his du'a collapses before it reaches the heavens. Du'a requires yaqeen, a heart that sees the promise before it appears, a soul that is certain even in darkness. Think of Prophet Zechariah s8, an old man with a barren wife, no logical hope of a child. Yet he made du'a with absolute certainty, not because the situation made sense, but because Allah never needed it to. So ask yourself, have you been making du'a with hope or with certainty? Have you been whispering du'a or declaring your need before the one who can turn impossibility into reality? Because Ibn al-Uthaymin said, when the heart is certain, Allah gives in the most astonishing ways. But there is still a heavier truth coming. Even if you have certainty, pure earnings, Allah's names, and a present heart, there is still another hidden mistake, one that almost no one talks about, and it silently drains the power of your du'a without you realizing it.
What's coming next will reveal this mistake, and once you understand it, your du'a will take on a depth you've never experienced before. There is a kind of du'a that sounds beautiful, but carries no weight in the sight of Allah. A du'a that flows smoothly, memorized perfectly, recited with rhythm, but the heart behind it is numb, cold, disconnected. Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymin said, the most dangerous du'a is the one you repeat automatically. Because automatic du'a is not a conversation. It's not pleading. It's not turning to Allah. It's a habit. And habits don't rise to the heavens. Think of the du'as you say every day. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا رب اغفر لي. Beautiful words, sacred words. But how often do you actually feel them? How often do you pause and let each word sink into the wounds you're carrying? How often do you reflect on what you're actually asking? Ibn al-Uthaymin said, du'a without reflection is like reading a letter you never open. You recite it, but you never benefit from it. Most people's du'a is like a river flowing over rocks. It touches the surface, but never penetrates. And that is why some people can make du'a for years and feel nothing change inside them, not because Allah didn't hear, but because they didn't speak from the place the change begins. Real du'a starts deep inside the soul, in the place where your fear hides, your wounds sit, your hopes live, your loneliness breathes. And Ibn al-Uthaymin's words cut straight to this truth. Du'a must come from a heart that is alive. A living heart, a feeling heart, a heart that trembles, breaks, hopes, calls, and collapses before its Lord. Because the du'a that comes from deep inside you is the du'a that ascends straight to Allah. But even this is not the final secret. Because sometimes, even when your heart is alive, your certainty strong, your earnings pure, your words sincere, Allah still delays. Not out of anger, but out of a wisdom that will only make sense later. And this is where Ibn al-Uthaymin gives one of his most comforting, powerful teachings. Reveal the real reason Allah delays certain du'as and why those delays are actually proofs of His love for you. There is a moment in every believer's life where they ask the most painful question. Why hasn't Allah answered me yet? You repeat the same du'a. Your heart breaks in the same place. Your eyes shed the same tears. Yet nothing seems to move. Shaykh Ibn al-Uthaymin addressed this directly. A delay in du'a is not a rejection. A delay is a preparation. Allah is not saying no. Allah is saying, not now, not yet, not like this. He explained that when a believer keeps making du'a and the answer doesn't come immediately, two things are happening. One, Allah is raising your rank with every moment of patience. Every second you wait, every tear you cry, every whispered Ya Rab is being written as worship, as trust, as love. Ibn al-Uthaymin said, sometimes Allah withholds the gift but gives you the reward, and the reward is far greater than what you asked for. And two, Allah is shaping you into the person who can handle what you're asking for. Maybe you asked for marriage, but your heart wasn't ready to love. Maybe you asked for wealth, but your character wasn't ready to carry it. Maybe you asked for success, but your soul wasn't strong enough to survive it.
So Allah delays, not to punish, but to prepare. He delays to protect you from receiving a blessing you're not yet ready to hold. He delays to transform you into someone who can receive it without destroying themselves. And sometimes Allah delays because the blessing you're asking for is not ready for you yet. Ibn al-Uthaymin said, if Allah gives before the time is right, the blessing may become a trial. There are times Allah is arranging your future, moving hearts, opening doors, closing harmful paths, redirecting danger away from you, and you don't see any of it. You think nothing is happening, but behind the scenes, the entire universe is shifting just to deliver what you asked for. But now we reach the most personal, intimate part of this journey. Because even if Allah delays, even if years pass, even if nothing seems to change, there is one truth Ibn al-Uthaymin emphasized that can transform your entire relationship with du'a. A truth so powerful, so comforting, so life-changing that once you understand it, you will never view an unanswered du'a the same way again. Will reveal the final secret, the secret that brings peace even before the answer arrives. Sheikh Ibn al-Uthaymin said something that changes everything about how we make du'a. The true acceptance of du'a is not only in its response, but in the peace it brings to the heart when made sincerely. Think about it. We often think that du'a is about getting what we want. We think it's only successful if the situation changes, if the dream arrives, if the hardship disappears. But Ibn al-Uthaymin taught that the real blessing is in the act itself. The turning to Allah, the lowering of your heart, the humility, the certainty, the presence. Even if the answer is delayed, even if it comes in a form you don't expect, even if it doesn't come in this life, your du'a has already transformed you. He explained, when a servant calls upon Allah with a heart that is alive, sincere, and certain, he has already tasted a portion of paradise, for his soul finds rest and submission. This is the ultimate secret. Your du'a is not just a request. It is a bridge between your soul and Allah. It is the moment your heart leans completely on Him, and in that leaning, peace emerges. Ibn al-Uthaymin also warned us, do not let unanswered du'a harden your heart, for it is the softness in the struggle that draws mercy closer. So now when you feel the delay, when you feel the pain, when you wonder if Allah has forgotten, remember, the act of du'a done correctly is already an answered blessing. The peace, the submission, the certainty, that is the reward Allah begins to pour before the actual answer arrives. Your role is simple. First, be present. Second, purify your earnings and actions. Third, call with the name that fits your need. Fourth, speak with certainty from a living heart. 5. Trust the timing of Allah. 6. Receive the peace that comes along the way. If you practice this, your du'a becomes unstoppable. Even before the doors open, your heart already rests. Even before the miracle arrives, your soul already tastes serenity. This is the complete teaching Ibn al-Uthaymin gave about making du'a correctly. Your next step is simple. Apply it. Transform your du'a into a living conversation with Allah. Watch your heart change, your perspective shift, and your prayers finally rise like arrows that cannot miss their target.